Welcome back to Taiwan Now Look. Our guest today is Mr. Manfred Peng. He's the Director of International Information Department at the GIO. Mr. Peng, we've been talking about the messages that your office has been trying to convey to other countries. How about the strategies? How do you, what do you do to deliver the messages to the world?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, we try to use the media, international media, to influence people in the other countries and to try to shape the positive image, positive attitude toward Taiwan and take action to support our country. But I have to say that the public diplomacy cannot involve lying. Public diplomacy should be based on the foundation of the facts.
Yeah.
And I think the domestic politics and the developments affect the essence of the public diplomacy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For example, before the lifting the martial law and our national image was quite negative, mm-hmm. and after lifting martial law, and our image to be improved, and our economic power is also very helpful for our building our national image, and high standards and the high quality of the public health system are also very beneficial to our campaign for the WHO membership. Mm-hmm. And some international journalist organizations such as Freedom House and Reporters Without Borders rated Taiwan as the one of the freest nations in Asia. All this is beneficial to our national image. Yeah. And if we look at, because I have worked in this area, in this field for more than 25 years, mm-hmm. and I observed how the international media, the coverage of Taiwan developed. Yeah. And if we look at the international reportage on Taiwan, mm-hmm. and we noticed that there is already so-called set image of Taiwan. Yeah. What's the set image? There are some elements mm-hmm. In the so-called image of Taiwan. One, and previously, some international media called Taiwan as a renegade province mm-hmm. of China. Mm-hmm. But now, I think Taiwan and China are already understood by the international media to be different countries. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is number one. And number two, and after lifting of the martial law and the implementation of direct presidential election, Taiwan is already recognized or has been recognized as full-fledged democracy. Mm-hmm. And number three is more and more people in the world understand mm-hmm. Taiwan is not the member state of some important international organizations mm-hmm. such as the United Nations and the WHO. Yeah. And they all understand that we are diplomatically isolated by China, mm-hmm. and they have felt for our situation, and also some media think Taiwan's people are very friendly mm-hmm. and very kind, mm-hmm. and even the peace-loving, instead of a so-called troublemaker, criticized by the China, the other side of the Taiwan Strait.
Mm-hmm. So apparently, facts are very important. People know about Taiwan or get an image about Taiwan from the facts, right? Mm-hmm. But presenting facts is a very important skills. In other words, you can present facts in different ways.
Right.
What are the strategies or the means that you present the right facts to the right people?
Right. I think to tell the truth is the best strategy mm-hmm. in the public diplomacy. Mm-hmm. But I would like to say that there are some similarities between public diplomacy and commercial advertising. Mm-hmm. First, the process is the same. And professional expertise is needed to decide what kind of the message we want to convey to the outside world and through what channel. And afterward, we have to evaluate the results and we have to improve the next project. They are the same as the commercial advertising, and we have also competed with others in our case, and that means the other governments, especially the government of China. And if we want to define the reality of the situation on Taiwan issue, we have to compete with China or the other country concerned. And I have to say, public diplomacy is based on facts. But there are some differences between the public diplomacy and commercial advertising. The one is the public diplomacy that cannot achieve its goals in short term. Long-term efforts are needed. Yeah. And public diplomacy cannot achieve the goals overnight, and years or decades of efforts are needed. Yeah. And it's also very difficult for us to monitor or to get the feedback of our target audience for some particular campaign. For example, the UN campaign, WHO campaign. It's very difficult for us to get some feedback. Yeah. And that means that it's very difficult for us to measure our success or even the failure. And this is our difficulty.
In addition to inviting foreign media to come to Taiwan, talking to the foreign media and so on, what are other things that you've been doing, your department have been doing in presenting facts to the outside world?
Sure. And our work, the government's work in public diplomacy is very comprehensive. GIO is not alone in conduct public diplomacy in the government. And we have to work with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and to sell the so-called hot issues and hot power message to the other world. And we have to also work with Mainland Affairs Council and to explain and make clear the policy toward the mainland. And we have to worked with the Department of Health and in our campaign for the WHO membership. And we also worked closely with the Bureau of the Tourism and to build out the image in terms of the sightseeing and the tourism. And also we send or we organize or we initiate some tour of some cultural teams and together with a council for the cultural developments. And of course, we work together. And we also integrate the resources of the government agencies. Yeah. And we also organize or integrate the channels which we have all together. And in short, the GIO is actually the government's the builder of the national image. We are also the coordinator among the government agencies.
You've been talking about the so-called resources and different agencies in establishing Taiwan's international images. Apparently, there are shrinking resources, and other countries are also competing similar images, for instance, for tourism and so on. What are the most difficult part in presenting a country's images abroad?
Well, this is actually one of the major difficulties in our work, and that means we have to allocate the resources among the government agencies, and I have to admit this is the so-called bureaucratic reality, and there are some so-called bureaucratic barriers and to allocate these resources in very reasonable way. But anyway, we made our effort to allocate the resources evenly.
For the media who have offices here in Taiwan, I think they have better access or first-hand access to the information in Taiwan. But for some media, they don't have office here. They only send their correspondents to come here for a week or two and so on. Do you find any problems or difficulties in communicating with those short-term visit correspondents or media?
But we cannot underestimate the ability of the foreign journalists, especially coming from the so-called developed countries, because they have a professional knowledge, professional understanding of the reality of the situation concerning the Taiwan issue. Just to give them 1 week time, even the 3 days, and they can find out what they want to find.
I see. And do you invite them, by yourselves, or do they invite themselves to come to Taiwan?
We, through the different channels, we invite the foreign journalists to come to Taiwan and to get some the so-called first-hand information about Taiwan. This is very important. I have to say that we don't manage this invitation of the foreign journalists. If we invite the foreign journalists to come over here, and they can decide what they want to meet and what they want to see and to whom they want to talk.
I see.
Yeah, I think we are already one of the freest country.
That's right.
Well, according to some international journalist organizations, we respect. Of course, we respect the freedom of the press.
That's
and
right.
we respect the professional judgment of the foreign journalist.
That's right. And I think apparently the so-called presenting Taiwan's image abroad depends not only on the government's work, but also on the non-governmental sectors. So when we come back, we'll talk about how you coordinate or cooperate with other private sectors in portraying Taiwan to other countries. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this message.